States, which is unfortunate. I've been wondering if we should try varying the time on this one. I know that Tomoyo Fujita, I see him posting on Discourse, and he's been interested in this working group, but it's just too hard for him to join at this time.
Yeah, the TSC alternates between, I think, 8 o'clock in the morning and like 3:30 in the afternoon for like, I mean, for America, it's fine for both, but like in one way, the European people attend and the other meeting, the Asian people attend, which is, I think, a good compromise.
Yeah, it makes sense. Maybe we should consider doing that for this meeting as well. I don't know how we make that decision. I guess we just say, put it on Discourse, and then I don't know, I guess ask for any opposition. Just put up a plan. That's probably easier than asking for what is good for people. Probably follow that model. So I'm just going to put that as an action item. Cool. Okay. So let's see. I'm not sure who we've got on the call this time. I think we'll go around and just do quick greetings. You don't have to say much, but just who you are, why you're here. That way, we all kind of have a basic understanding. I think most of the people on the call we've already introduced ourselves, but. Well, let's see. I know we've talked to PJ. Matt Lanting, have we talked to you before? I have a bad memory, so if it's the case, then sorry for double asking.
Not this week, but I introduced myself last week. I'm from DCS and working with PJ.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, of course. So I think that means that everyone on the call, we all introduced ourselves last week. I don't know if it's necessary to do it again this week, or last time. So, might as well just go ahead. I'll take, if I could ask maybe someone on site to just drop down a quick attendance list, that would help me out a lot.
I'll grab that. Could you paste the link in there?
Yes, absolutely. I should do that always. It's in the meeting invite, but it's helpful to have the doc link right there in the chat. So we might as well just get through our housekeeping. From last time, we had a few action items, which was to re-enable Flakegate linter on ROS 2, which we did. It had been broken for a little bit when Flakegate upgraded to 3.8, but that got fixed a while ago, and we just needed to re-enable those tests. So now that's there on people's PRs, which is useful. And the summary post after the meeting, I did post a help wanted. Hopefully that will be useful for people. I think still the most useful thing is probably the ordered list of issues on the backlog. But I posted that, and then I also posted sort of 3 of the tickets that we identified during the working group meeting. We'll see if this has any. I got 1 click on one of the links, so probably, I don't know if that has that much impact, but it's something we can keep trying. Then scheduling opposite Friday recurring breakout meetings. I did do this, so the calendar now has a meeting on the opposite Friday, like we did for the ROS 2 performance. So we've got breakout session next week on Friday. I don't have a concrete topic yet. I said maybe I could talk about what I'm thinking about for the proposal of the next version of the cross-compile tool. I have sort of a work in progress branch, and I think it might be useful to get some feedback on the user interface for how you use it and what it does. So I think I'll just, I don't know, can I get a sense in here if there's any interest in having that conversation? Because I don't want to, take up people's time or talk to an empty room. But it could be useful for me to talk about it with folks if they have opinions about the user experience on, the workflows on cross-compiling ROS workspace.
I would join.
Okay. Yeah. I think I'll post on Discourse and see if I can get a couple likes or something to see if anyone wants to talk about it. There was that announcement post which got a lot of likes, so I think there's some attention. So maybe we'll pull in some other folks from the community as well who wouldn't normally attend these meetings. Okay, so I'm going to.
Before we move on really quick, have any ideas for some possible good breakout meetings that
Oh yeah, that's also something. Is does anyone else have any other topics they'd like to cover in one of these? Because it'd be nice to schedule, a few out. That way we don't have to worry about it every time.
Most important here is that you don't have to commit to presenting here just yet. Just let's get some topics we might want to hit before committing.
Yeah, if not, that is also okay. We don't have to have one. I was thinking if on any given week we don't have a topic, then we can just cancel it. Not a big deal. We've been going with our, every 2 weeks meetings. But I felt it was useful to dedicate an entire hour to a conversation rather than having to worry about all of our housekeeping and sort of keeping up our primary charter of managing the backlog. So I think what I will do next is I will go look at ROS tooling. And we have an issue. Oh, that I moved here. Create a topic statistics system test in the system tests repo. Honestly, this should probably just get moved on to system tests. Either that or we should close it. Does anyone have an opinion on
I think it's on the meta ticket, but yeah, we can move it to system tests if everyone agrees.
Oh, does it have a... it's not referenced somewhere.
Let me make sure I add it then.
Well, maybe the reference link is out of date after we moved repositories. Except, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if redirect works for references. I'm not sure. Yeah, if you could just add that would be helpful. Thanks, Devin.
Can you throw the link in the chat, please?
Yes, of course.
Thank you.
I think I moved it to community because I wasn't sure where it was supposed to go. We've been clearing out. We had this AWS roadmap repository on the tooling working group, which was not really a good place for it, and we've been clearing it out. So we are getting ready to delete it, so there's nothing AWS specific in the tooling organization, which is probably a lot more appropriate for how we want to run this thing. We just put it there because we didn't have a separate organization to put it in. Okay, so that's that for community stuff. Yeah, I don't think we're going to be changing this anytime soon that I'm anticipating. Like, our list of projects is already fairly big, and the maintenance, like, there's a lot that we can do on, say, ROSBag and cross-compile tool. And these GitHub actions, I think a lot of people are getting use out of. So let's talk about project backlog. I think that last time we started to pay attention to the new issues column, and that's probably the way that I would like to continue handling this for now until it's empty, and then we can, pay attention to the rest of it. But as it is, I'm seeing new issues as things that we haven't even had a chance to look at yet. The icebox is something we'll want to reconsider at some point because we don't want to just leave things in the freezer forever. Eventually they get freezer burned and they're no good to eat anymore. But for now, we'll leave it there until we have a handle on the new stuff that came in. So we've got all of the repos being viewed. I will also paste links to everything I look at. That way we can follow along. For those of you who don't have the XenHub extension installed, the web app link should also work. I I could always, anyone who wants to come in here and look at things at any time or move stuff around, by all means, super improve. Would appreciate any help at any time on that. But this is our dedicated hour every week, or at this point, it's more like we have a dedicated half hour every 2 weeks to deal with this, which isn't a lot, but it's something. Kind of nice to do it with a group, because I don't always have all the context. So let's see, what shall we say about this one? Suppress RMW implementations. I see. So the desire is to suppress RMW implementations from the build and test scenario, but the implementation is possibly just allowing for more arbitrary colcon arguments. I personally like the idea better of allowing for arbitrary colcon argument selection, which is a more powerful tool than specifically RMW implementation. Does anyone have a different thought on that? Because otherwise, I'm just going to say this seems totally workable, and this enhancement should be treated as arbitrary. How might one do that most effectively? We don't have to completely solve the problem here, but I was wondering, like, maybe we allow for passing in a colcon defaults file, or is that a bad way to do it? I guess we could also allow for a YAML block of arguments that just gets written out as a defaults file.
Well, for the command line arguments, you would just need a list, right? A list of like CLI args.
Oh yeah, I guess they could just pass the list of strings,
arguably,
or just a long string.
Maybe you need. Usually, I wouldn't pass a string. I would pass a list for like the individual args. But I don't know if you need to pass two separate one set of arguments for build and one for test. At least that was the jobs on ci.ros2.org have. They have two different arguments, one for build and one for test. For example, a lot of jobs say you want to build everything up to a certain level, but then you only want to test less than that.
Yeah, makes sense. I think that is probably the best way to solve this as well. It doesn't seem like we need to specifically handle this. Use case. We can enable it by doing something more powerful.
The jobs on build.ros2.org, for example, they also have just like there's a connects job and a cyclone and a fastRDBS job, and they just have different build arguments as a default.
Is that all? Oh, there's the checkboxes too, but those just those decide whether to install them.
Yeah, there's some magic for the Docker file, but beside that one, it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, it boils down to just command line arguments to call on.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So I'm gonna reword this as allow passing arbitrary arguments to colcon build test. And then I'm just going to say original request. This enhancement will solve a whole class of usability issues by letting users completely customize the behavior. Cool. I think that Okay. I'm just going to move this to the backlog. I don't think this would be very hard to implement. I'm going to put help wanted on it because I don't have an immediate plan to work on it myself. I don't know if anyone else does. Where did the enhancement label go? I honestly think this is even a good first issue in that particular repository. Cool. Okay, we've got a lot of the CI stuff. I think the issues are a nice indicator of usage. Because Dan Rose, where is he? He's at Cyclone at Eclipse. And then Ted is from Canonical. Ubuntu has retired. Oh, okay. It's just trying to install Python ROS-step explicitly, but Ubuntu doesn't even have it. Interesting. And this is because the Open Robotics app repos don't publish the Python 2 stuff to Ubuntu 20. I'm guessing that the Python 2 still exists as a package there. Or am I wrong?
Well, that depends on who you ask. If you ask the ROS app repository, there's not a single Python 2 package anymore in the 2004 repo because we just say not supported anymore.
Yep.
Upstream might still have them.
Yeah, that's what I was asking. Is does Upstream have them? But that doesn't actually mean anything for what we do here. I was just trying to clarify.
The sad thing is just if you go to a clean machine and type ROS-step, then the recommendation will be, hey, you should install Python-ROS-step or Python-ROS-step 2 even because that's the official Ubuntu package.
Yep.
So sometimes users are just typing that, and they're that tells me what to do. They do it, and then they have a mixed version of like some Debian packages and some ROS packages.
Makes sense. Okay, so this is does this mean that that setup ROS just doesn't work on which one's the 2004? Sorry, I'll just say 2004. Is that Focal? Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. I'm having a hard time this morning. Okay. As a bug, I have moved it to the top of the backlog, especially because it sounds like it has the label, right? Oh, that's strange. It sounds like this means that setup ROS is broken on Focal, which is not ideal. Okay, and then elsewhere. Yeah, lots of people trying to use this out. OpenSSL missing on Windows targets. Please, OpenSSL is not available on GitHub hosted runners for Windows. Is this officially supporting Windows right now? Oh, we don't have Thomas here to clarify that, but I guess we'll assume that it does because otherwise why be reporting an issue with it? Windows 10, Eloquent. Okay, I don't think we need to specifically figure out everything about this. It looks like there's enough information for someone to try debugging it. All bugs to the top of the backlog. We've got a few up there. We would like to target as many of them as we can. I wanted to add some context that on our side, we just recently had a team reorganization, and so we've been a little out of touch for the last 2 weeks or so on doing any of our open source development because we've been figuring out our structure internally as we have a new team. So it's a little more focused, but it's a little more smaller. So that's like me and Devin and Jesse here. We'll have a new person joining us as well soon. So, installing Choco dependencies can fail. Okay. This sounds like, like a flakiness thing. Which I've had a lot of problems with the GitHub Actions with networking. Like, I feel like we've witnessed a lot of flakiness with the networking. I don't know if anybody else has any more insights into that, but I'm not sure how we fix it because it feels like it's sort of baked into the infrastructure of GitHub. You know, whatever Azure stuff is running it now under the hood. I don't know how much we can do about it. I guess we can add retry behavior. Although, does that make sense? Like, just adding retry behavior when you try things that involve the network? Or is that too much to do across the board?
Well, if you can distinguish from like a flaky network thingy from like a general, always reliably reproducible failure, then yeah, you should definitely retry. The build farm has like layers and layers of retry logic. Every time we do an apt-get update and apt-get install, we have to do retries on certain error codes because depending on the scale, you will definitely run into a case that you just do the repo in the wrong moment, you just get something lost, there's a hash sum mismatch, and you retry and it works.
There's actually a nice GitHub action that will allow you to retry commands as well. I was looking at that last night for an unrelated action failure.
To retry the entire step.
You can do this step or just even a run command.
Interesting. Okay. Oh, because the action's like the TypeScript libraries. Cool. That might be something we do. Like, I don't know, 403. I don't know if I would read a 403 as a flakiness failure, but in this case, I believe it was. This is now getting a little bit old, but we should resolve it. So we can take a look at their Windows build. Okay, we're not moving through these very quickly. Sorry, I guess we're being maybe a little too thorough. Error on attempt to rerun ROS step init. When you're using the devel container, do you even need setup ROS? I don't think you do, because it already has the app repos available, and that's most of what setup ROS is doing for you. But I guess we want to make it compatible with whatever environment it's in. Yeah. Okay. This is perfectly clear. If ROS step init has already run, then it doesn't matter. You can just move on. I don't know if there's a way to detect that, but we could also just put a catch on the thing and say, I don't know. I also don't know if it returns a specific error code. It's clear what the issue is. We can have someone debug it if they pick up the bug. I guess I'm curious right now. We've got 22 things in here that we haven't looked at. Maybe we need to move a little faster, or maybe we need offline time outside the working group for it, but not a lot of prioritizing going on. But basically, I'm seeing a lot of bugs at the top of the backlog. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Something on the order of 20, which I think we definitely want to deal with. I might send out a flare for help, because I think that my team's going to be able to pick up probably 1 or 2 per meeting right now until we get into our groove. Then maybe we could do more. Some of these are smaller than others. Some of them are, I think, hard to resolve. But at the very least, we can present that to the community as we've got issues. We know they're important. Help. Okay. Moving on to the next thing. This is from cross-compile. Oh, and we're really getting far into the past here, which is fun. Which I closed that other issue. I still don't, yeah, right now it tries to run Docker, and if it's not installed, it doesn't say anything very useful. It says like it can't find a socket file, which is not clear to a user who wants to just use this package. So this is fairly simple. I'm just going to put this at the bottom of the backlog, which is basically figure out whether Docker is actually there and say so in a clear manner, instead of failing with a confusing error. Add annotations to build results. Oh, too bad Honest isn't still here. Honest is going back to school soon. I'm excited for him. I don't know how many of you. I don't know how many of you interacted with him, but he's got accepted into CMU for a robotics master's program. So let's see. Annotation support. Is anyone else familiar with annotations in GitHub Actions? Checks. Checks for different status, more detailed messaging. Only use. I don't know exactly what this is, and I don't until we have a more specific request. Oh, I think that, okay, the idea is that when like a colcon build command fails, we would output explicitly that bit of text. I think that maybe makes it more clear. Use this to explicitly display the last 10 lines of a colcon output to make the results much clearer. Okay, that makes it a little more clear to me. It might not actually have made it any more clear to anyone else, but I'm going to say this is nice, but it's not going to be on our plate. Most of the enhancements, unless they're like specifically direct, performance or usability on our tools, are not getting a priority right now, especially because we have so many bugs. We're going to need to make that a priority on our side as well. VirtualBox. Oh, yeah, I was having a conversation with this person. I'm actually going to close this. They were confused as to why it's so slow, and we have an open issue to use real cross compilers, and I have an open work in progress a draft PR that sort of shows the high level structure, but it doesn't work perfectly yet. It works on certain simple cases, but some packages it can't find their headers. So closing this in favor of tracking cross compiler usage and number. I don't know how to find it. I'm surprised I didn't note the other issue. No, not that. There we go. Number 16. Yeah. So the tool is it's useful for simple cases. It's not very usable for larger workspaces, and we realize that it's still more of a beta proof of concept. Really want to get it to that next stage. I think that people get a lot of use out of it. But negative values allowed in over ROSBEG 2. S overrides file. Oh, interesting. What happens, Devin? Do you remember what actually happens? Does it crash eventually, or does it when you pass a negative value to like deadline for this QoS overrides? Or does
no, it's been long enough that I don't remember.
Okay. Seems not good. Okay. Person to touch this to double check that it's still happening. We might want to do like a some sort of bug party at some point where we. I know that Navigation 2 had a bunch of really small tickets that they did like a bug bounty on or whatever. They had to put them out there and ask people to sort of compete to close the most little bugs. I don't know if we'd actually get interest for that, but it might be fun for some of us to take a day or something at some point to just like try and close out as many of these small things as we can. In the meantime, bugs go to the top of the backlog. Okay. An invalid value is passed for split size. Oh. Okay, yeah. This seems quite clear and small and probably easy to fix. It was tested on Mac and Windows. I'm thinking that it probably happens on Ubuntu as well, though. I don't think this is Mac and Windows specific. This is, I'm going to call this in progress. Karsten, thanks for giving such a thorough review on that performance packages. I definitely did not get around to looking into as much detail in it. That's been really helpful. I like the iteration that they've done. It's a lot more contained. I was quite intimidated by looking at a 5,000 line review, and under 500, it's a lot more manageable.
Yeah, well, that first iteration didn't make much sense either, and
Yeah,
still
exactly.
and still right now there's stuff in there which is like, let's say, which you can still somewhat improve.
Okay,
but
well,
it's definitely very appreciated that Adam is like attentive and
yeah,
picks up the review, so that's pretty good. And I'm hoping actually that I haven't seen any update today, but maybe beginning next week, I hope that we can actually land this and have this in some sort of a state where we can actually compare different PRs to it, because I have a bunch of ideas that I want to fix the findings.
Yeah.
And it would be great if we can actually then make like a little before and after comparison with that benchmark tool.
Yeah. Speaking of which, like we took on the cache by size instead of by message count, which isn't done yet, but I'd almost like to have the report generation first so that we can sort of prove the before and
Correct.
after. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, that's why I'm having here as well.
Exactly. So, cool. That's in progress. Sorry. Specify the script topic name in topic statistics. Okay, so this is a system metrics collector, which is there's a specific node in there that you can just specify topics for it to look at. However, right now it publishes all of its statistics. I'm actually going to call this one bug because it publishes all of the statistics onto the same data stream without any differentiating information, which means that you don't know what topic it's printing statistics about. I don't think that this particular little node has a lot of usage, but regardless, we should not put it out there, or we should fix it as soon as possible. So I keep moving things to the very top of the backlog. We probably need to, especially since there are so many bugs, put some prioritization in there. I don't know if we'll get there today, but I think we're getting ourselves into a slightly better state, where at least we're getting close to having looked at everything. Yeah, getting closer. Maybe if we move quite fast. So for cross-compile, I have the context on all of these, especially because I logged them. This one, right now we have all of the Docker-based tests disabled. If you're on Mac, the only reason for that is that the GitHub Action runners don't have Docker on Mac, and that's never going to happen, it sounds like, on the GitHub Actions. That doesn't mean that when you're developing on Mac, you shouldn't be able to run the tests. So I was just saying we should enable a different way for the GitHub Action environment to disable the Docker-based tests for that particular environment, rather than doing it based on the operating system. So I'm just going to bottom of the backlog. This is also an easy one, so I'm going to, I think you could probably just specify a command line argument or an environment variable to do it. Fix the troubleshooting URL. We had a couple of errors related to this. Dirk, do you know if this is still relevant? Well, I guess let's find out. It's.
I think yes. If your code contains that URL does not exist anymore.
Oh yeah, okay. And so
you can look at the reference main ticket, and there pull request. There are plenty of examples how it needs to be updated.
Oh, off the keyboard, please. I don't know if you guys have seen Mabel, but she's now twice as big as she was a few weeks ago. Still quite small though, but now discovering keyboards. Anyways, let's see. Okay, so this is not handled, and we should, because documentation is also really important.
Well, especially since an error message your code throws, right?
Yeah, exactly. So top of the backlog, and I also want to pin this one because your error message is leading you to a non-existent URL is really quite useless. Other things are more benign. Okay, cool, confirmed. Ooh, and backported to all active distros. I guess that's 3. Because of the cat, Preston?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it gets me a lot of points on these meetings. Okay, builds prioritizing binaries instead of source. We haven't had any attention on this. We're actually, so internally we're plugging in some infrastructure.
So I think I know what's happening. There's the same ticket. Let me just check. There's a ROS. Dirk showed me that yesterday. There's a ticket on, sorry, not a ticket, a post on ROS answers. So I could boil that down. This is actually only partially related to, let me just post that thing. Maybe somebody can put that on the notes. So I could boil that down to there's a line in ROSback storage which goes back to the amend target dependencies, and if you include RCUtils before any ROSback, then I think RCUtils brings in a /include, kind of like opt-ROS foxy include with it, which then finds headers, which then finds the headers from the binary installation instead of your overlay workspace.
Okay, so this is a bug somewhere.
That's definitely a bug. That's actually really annoying, because that means nobody can actually build ROSback in the overlay as long as RCUtils is in there.
Oh, that's really quite not good. And so is this a bug in RCUtils right now, or?
I would suspect.
Okay.
I would be surprised, because that means you could not build anything in an overlay which is above RCUtils, which is kind of like almost everything.
Right. I think so.
Since you can build other packages in an overlay, we've done like other stuff for Viper or something.
Yeah.
Probably somewhere else.
So all I could confirm, and Amazon, if you could open ROSback to transport the CMake list real quick, I can show you exactly what I mean with this. Just open the CMake list, and there's a target dependency at some point. All right. So if you would now move ROSback to CPP line 53 above RCL, then it just perfectly works.
I see.
Right, and so RCL CPP all brings in RC utils, and I could boil it down that like if RC utils is before ROSback to CPP, you can't build it in an overlay. So that's why I'm suspecting that something maybe even a further dependency of RC utils, maybe std log or whatnot.
Maybe it has something to do with one of the emmet macros. I have occasionally seen strange behavior on real unusual edge cases.
All of that works often, if you build your workspace in a merge install. That works again. That works. If you build it in isolation, it doesn't work.
Oh, wait, so it's if you build what? Like you source.
So if you build your overlay workspace in isolation, in isolation, it doesn't work. Isolation being the default here for CloudCon.
Yeah.
If you build it in a merge install, it crashes because then in a merge install it works. Sorry, merge install works fine. Isolation crashes.
And the merge install, yeah, because the merge install has just the one top level include directory, probably.
And so if you move, as I said, if you move that line 53 ROSback CPP before RC util, so in this case before RCL, it also works in an isolated install.
Okay. So I'm just gonna put that.
If you want, you can assign that ticket to me. We're gonna have a look at that.
I think Carson said above RC utils.
Say this again?
You said above RC utils, right?
RC utils, yeah.
Okay, cool. Backlog. It's funny. The ordering on the on the bugs on the backlog right now is actually starting to be like oldest first, which might be a decent first pass ordering. You might be running into performance issues. You might be running into QoS information.
I actually suspect we could close that ticket.
It's on dashing.
It's on dashing, and I'm pretty sure that the RealSense published that data with unreliable data, with unreliable QoS, so best effort.
Yeah.
I flagged it as like more information needed because I wanted to give the author of the ticket another chance to confirm, but.
Yeah, it's too big of a feature for us to be able to port back any of this adaptability. So at a certain point, there's not much we can do. Do you think I guess that was 23 days ago. I'm going to close this issue for now. It is reopen if we can help resolve anything further. Yeah, it seems like it's probably that. ROSbag 2QoS test uses several sleeps on Windows. This was on our list. It still is. I'm going to assign me and say this is in progress. We I did spend some time in between this last meeting working on using the new Chef scripts from the build farm to set up a Windows environment, and spent some time trying to automate that. It would be really nice to have an EC2 AMI that we could just spin up a ROS2 Windows development environment. I think that'd be really huge. So I've been talking to Steven a little bit about that. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I do now have a reproducible Windows development environment. I haven't gotten all the way to fixing this yet, but it's still on the top of our list. So I believe that I have knocked out all of the other sort of internal bureaucratic stuff. So this should be my top priority on Monday. Like I think it's actually the first thing I work on. So this is in progress. Okay, and yeah. ROS tooling private repo to test this build with access tokens. Yes. So we had a nice contribution from Christoph to allow Action ROS CI to build private repos, which needed you to have access tokens involved. So that was a good improvement, but we don't have any automated test infrastructure to make sure that it works. I don't even know if we should call this enhancement. Like maybe this is more like tech debt. Like the feature works, but we don't have any automated testing around it. And what we would need is to probably create a private repository under the organization to run the build against, just in order to test that infrastructure. Always open to other ideas on implementation, but let's see, did we add, I guess I'm just going to say a bug enhancement is like what tech debt is, right? I don't know. Do we need a separate label for that? Does anyone have an opinion on that? At a certain point, you run out of color. Ooh, orange. That's not in there yet. Cool. Okay. There we go. Instead of bug enhancement. I don't know. I think we put that in the middle of the backlog, but for tech debt. Less important than a bug, but still pretty important. Let's get back to Zen Hub board. Yeah, this is not, I think this is really valuable for us to just have this backlog here. We can kind of show we've got a ton of bugs. We need to spend time on it. This would be good for my internal reporting. Like, hey, we say we maintain these things. We need time to fix all the bugs. So allow for specifying ROS step keys to skip from Action ROS CI. This is separate from allowing for Colcon build arguments, but it's a similar sort of thing. Maybe we just want to allow for providing arbitrary ROS step arguments. In the cross-compile tool right now, I have it exposed just as the keys to skip. Like the rest of the ROS step command is carefully crafted. I don't know. What do we think for this CI thing? Do we want to just allow users to skip keys, or do we want to sort of just expose all of ROS step? Probably more generic power is better in general. I don't think we're doing anything special with it. Like we just pass ignore source. Okay, I'm going to say that this is an enhancement that was requested by me, but somebody, this didn't come from me. This came from someone else. I think it came from another issue. I should make sure to reference issues where the discussion came from. I'm just going to move this to the bottom of the backlog because until I remember who was requesting it, I'm not the most important person. Okay, but it's clear what we want. We're getting close to the bottom. We've only got a few minutes left. This is an enhancement. I might even call it just tech debt. This is really a question around the structure of the system metrics collector node, which is that it's all in a class right now that sort of just does Linux things, but we want to isolate it out into separate components. I think that is perfectly reasonable re-architecting of the code. I think we're also going to say help wanted because I don't think anybody has this on their immediate plate right now. I like this one. We were actually looking, the reason this came up, this is for Action ROS lint. This came up because we wanted to run the Ament linters against a ROS1 workspace without having to install ROS2. And I feel like that's totally reasonable because I like the code style that they enforce, but we didn't want to have to add the entire, or add the ROS2 apt repositories into that environment. So I feel like installing them from pip is a decent idea. I actually use the Ament linter code style on the cross-compile tool, even though it's just a pure Python package, by installing them via pip from GitHub. So I don't think this has a high priority. It's probably not too hard to provide it as an option because you can really just pip install the packages and then run them. Okay, whatever. Bottom of the backlog. It might be a priority for a different project later, but we'll pick it up if it's needed. Monitor process when given PID. Enhancement. This was part of the nightly performance testing roadmap. I don't know if it is anymore because there is a nightly performance testing packages thing going on right now that Scott's been working on. And I don't think it involves this tool. However, we can just say, I'm not closing out issues right now. I think we're really just trying to make sure we've taken a look at everything. Okay, let's get through 5 more in 5 minutes. We can do it. Oh, system metrics, never been blamed. Labels, I don't even know what you call this. This is like operations. Or who knows? It's an enhancement to its discoverability. I don't know if we can put it as help wanted though. But this package has never been Bloom released, which probably means almost no one's using it yet. Topic statistics system test. This was the one we looked at today. Tracking here. Devin, do you think we want to close this issue or transfer it over to system tests? We have this meta ticket, which was to add a system test, and now it's pointing at this issue. I don't feel like I want to keep any implementation issues on the community repo. It was just there as a way to force us to look at it. Does anyone have an opinion about where this should go? Like, does it make sense on the system test repo? Or should I move it over to lib statistics collector even though the implementation won't be there? That might make more sense. I'm going to do it. And then we're going to say that it's tagged at, this repo doesn't have one either. That's the unfortunate part, is that you can't have like labels synced across your repositories.
I think we use the script for that to deploy the same set of labels to like all repos. You can just use the GitHub API for that.
Sounds like tooling to me.
Yeah.
Oh, we already have a script like that. That's how we do it for the last 2 repos.
do you know where do you have that somewhere publicly accessible?
I would say yes, but don't ask me where. I'll figure out the link and send it to you.
Okay, pretty please. I'm gonna put that action items. Find and send script that syncs GitHub labels across repositories. We try to keep things real uniform across the repositories in here, so that would be really nice to just make sure that, especially because we're doing this, combined view. Oh, not in progress. That was at the bottom. Okay, this issue we were communicating on last night. I'm not sure if this is like a usability issue, so I'm gonna, I think, put enhancement on here. It's hard to say if we're tracking a bug or not. This person seems to be attempting to read ROS bags using the existing Python API for what little there is. No, okay, so they're just reading from SQLite using that API and then trying to figure out how to get the message into a useful format. It seems to me like Mabel's new Python API for reader-writer will be a better way to solve this problem. I don't think that the person actually wants to be dealing with CDR. I think she wants to be reading messages. So I guess we just need to, I'm gonna just wait on the response on this one, and if we don't, that was just last night, so if we don't get any further information in a few days, we can close this out.
I actually thought that RCLPy has serialization functions.
Okay,
but
so
maybe I'm wrong here.
Yeah, I think the only thing is that, or do you mean like if you get a bytes-like object that is a CDR serialized message, you can already figure that out with RCLPy, or is it like if you have a serialized message struct, you can deal with that?
Wait, what's the difference?
One of them has other metadata associated with it, I think.
Okay, so I thought we had something like MW serialize and deserialize in RCLPy, but I'm not sure. I have to verify this. I don't know.
Yeah. So I mean, regardless, it might be that the Python reader API is the desired workflow here, anyways. But if we can unblock this person, then that will be useful. What do you? How do I know? Oh, and we're out of time. Yeah. So I'm gonna just float this last question. How should we notate like an issue that we are still figuring out? Like it's not necessarily still in the new issues column because we've looked at it and the conversation's underway, but it's also not in the backlog yet because we don't know what we need to do. Maybe I just keep it in new issues until we've figured it out. I don't have a better idea for right now. Okay, well, we got really close to finishing this whole thing. Thanks everybody for coming today. I am finding this very useful. If anyone has suggestions for format, I'm all ears. But until then, we're at the very least presenting a clear picture of how many bugs we have to deal with. So, on that note, I will aim to gauge interest for a cross-compile discussion next week, but we'll plan to have it, and we'll cancel it if it seems like nobody else wants to come. So that is that. Thank you, everybody, for coming. And I'll talk to you again the next time, maybe next week, maybe 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Oh, Emerson, I found the link.
Oh, you found the link.
Kind of like borderline Bloody Mary, but maybe martini-ish.
Did you see the link?
Yes. Update labels GitHub. Perfect. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Action item complete.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah. All right. Talk to you later.